Okay, Alex, let's start. And just a quick reminder for those who haven't attended our webinars before, your microphones are going to stay muted for the whole webinar. We expect quite a lot of people, so we don't want to have a lot of noise. However, you will be able to type your questions through Q&A. It's in the control panel of your Zoom application. So just type your answers, and after the end, Alex and I will conduct a live session to answer your questions.
All right. So Andre, would you like me to dive in, or are you going to go for it? All right. So appreciate you having me. Excited to be chatting with everybody today. Just as a way of kickoff. So my name is Alex Monk. I'm the co-founder CEO of Dashbase, and really excited to present today with Andre from PortaOne. And I think you guys all know Andre, so we can move on to agenda. So what we'll talk about today is why we're excited to be partnering together, PortaOne plus Dashbase, and we'll talk about what and why and the different things that we hope to do together. We'll run through Dashbase use cases, PortaOne use cases. We'll do some demo and show you exactly what it is that we offer, and then hope to get some live Q&A from the audience. Andre, would you like to say anything before we move on?
No, most of the people here, they know me already, but the reason why we organize this webinar and we're trying to build a larger community is to share some ideas and practices of how to do troubleshooting in complex networks. And in PortaOne, we do have quite a lot of experience specifically related to our application, but Alex, they bring more wide expertise because they work with different types of systems and collect the logs from there.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll show a lot more about that and how it is that we try to help across multiple different types of devices. And you'll see a lot more of that, especially as we move into demo. But to begin with, from the high level, we wanted to talk a little bit about why would we have a partnership. And this really boils down to the complexity of running voice over IP, especially at scale in multi-vendor platforms in complex environments. So VoIP troubleshooting is hard. The complexity of VoIP troubleshooting leads to poor customer experience. At the end of the day, if your services don't work very well, or if the connection between the different nodes in your platform isn't great, if it's hard to figure out why connections aren't happening or what's going wrong with different servers, that hits customer experience immediately in the form of poor call quality or calls that won't go through or call centers that come offline. So multi-vendor clustered platforms make it very hard to troubleshoot issues. And to illustrate, we've worked a little bit with Andre's team to just draw out a couple of data points to try to hammer this point. So the first one there in the center, 250, is the average SIP-related cases that get raised to PortaOne per month. And below that, you see that on average, one of those cases takes about 40 minutes to get resolved. And so point there is that it's a huge industry-wide challenge to deliver voice over IP flawlessly, yet your customers demand it and you compete on the quality of your platform. So being able to reduce that, reduce those two metrics makes it much easier for your customers to be happy on your platform. So our vision here as our partnership is to provide end-to-end data and visibility across multiple components and regions that you're deployed in for easier troubleshooting, quicker case resolution, and overall better customer experience. Let me throw in there before we move on that, so we met Andre a couple of months ago and immediately had this shared vision of the challenge in the space and how we could work together to solve it. And so our aim here is to be the best way for you guys to use PortaOne with a bunch of other types of components and be able to most effectively deliver the value that your customers are looking for. All right, so let's dive to Dashbase and specifically what we do. So there are three main themes that you'll see. Dashbase helps deliver cloud communications. Our aim is to help you deliver cloud communications with the quality that you want in three main ways. So first off, we enable more of your people to solve cases. So where our aim is, without Dashbase, it's very complicated to solve any cases, and everything turns into an escalation to your higher level team that has more experience with SIP and voice over IP. We're going to try to help more of the people on your team to be successful solving cases. We threw in a quote there from one of our customers, 8x8. This is Dan Deklich said, with Dashbase, frontline engineers and agents are able to solve the customer problem immediately. So you'll see through our demo, we try to put the data in front of you without having to know exactly what to search for. The second thing that we do, the second way that we help you deliver cloud communications, is that we empower the experts to solve complex cases faster. So what we see a lot from our customers is even your highest level SIP experts that know exactly how the system works, they still have to spend a bunch of time SSHing to machines and downloading logs and correlating different log files on a single timeline and filtering out superfluous logs that are not associated with specific calls. There's a whole bunch of munging of the data that has to happen in order for them to whittle down to just the calls, or just the logs, or just the SIP captures that comprise a specific call. And so overall, I'll read the quote from our customer. They say they spend 30 to 40% less time investigating complex cases. And that's because we solve this problem of bringing all the data to a single UI and making it super fast, searchable at all times. And we help abstract away from just the text-based data and visualize calls. So we'll show you more of that. But point number 3 then is, because you can put all the data into Dashbase, you never have to call your customer back and ask your customer to replay some particular bug. You don't have to ask them to try to reproduce a bug. So with Dashbase, you're going to be getting all of the data from your platform into one searchable system, and then all of our tools work on top of that, so you get to keep that data as long as you need to and not disrupt your customers further when there are issues.
Alex and I had a discussion last week when we were preparing for the demo, and Alex asked what's the log level we have on our server and which log level we have turned on. And I said, well, although we do have possibility to set the log level to debug or just errors, but by default, we always set it to full logs, debug, and the goal is to accumulate the data. And if customer reports a problem, then we have the data and we can go and we can see what's going on. Instead of saying, oh, we have a problem, well, let's try to repeat it. Let's try to recreate it. It's much easier to just throw away a couple of gigabytes or terabytes of old logs than to force customer to repeat and simulate some problems they were having.
Exactly, yeah, thank you. Okay, so specifically sort of the functions of Dashbase that are going to deliver that value are, 1, we're going to make it possible to search for calls rather than SSHing and grepping for logs and searching text. We allow you to search for calls directly. Number 2, once you retrieve those calls, we're going to help you visualize those call flows end to end, including all the hops in your entire platform. Number 3, when you're looking at a diagram, we'll help you drill from that call diagram to the full text logs. And finally, we'll help you root cause analysis with those logs. We have special UI that's made specifically around the root cause analysis process that we'll show you going forward. All right, and under the covers, just to give you a visual representation of how it works, Dashbase is powered by all of the data that's generated in your system. So we have log collectors that ingest data from PortaSwitch and many other industry standard tools, including your own custom applications that you might run inside of your platform as well. The logs and the SIP data from all of that is going to get gathered and sent to Dashbase. Number two, you'll keep your data as long as necessary on very cost-effective cloud storage. So Amazon S3 is where all the data gets actually stored. So it's very, very cost-effective for you to keep all of that data around and managed in the cloud. And then number three, Dashbase runs in your own private cloud environment in a Kubernetes cluster. So in your AWS, in your Azure, in your Google, you'll be able to run really simple commands that deploy this whole system. And that way you keep complete control over all of your data. And you're able to comply with local regulations around data not leaving crossing borders and things like that.
Okay, and I'm wearing two hats in this presentation. I'm CEO of PortaOne for customers who know us for a long time, but also we have some newcomers. So let me briefly explain who is PortaOne, what we're doing. So our main focus has been for the last 20 years, agile operators who would like to deploy new services, who would like to create something from different bits and pieces. That's why we put a focus on the open architecture and agile development. So the focus is how fast can you adapt your system, how fast can you roll out new service. Our development cycle has been 7 weeks for the last 8 years, and we haven't really missed it a day. This gives our customers the ability to deploy something really fast. And our license is unlimited, so we don't charge per subscriber, per port, per feature. Everything that you have is included. Everything you see in our documentation, everything we have, it's there, you will receive it. And all the features, all the new functionality we are developing. So all the maintenance releases, which on July 10th, we're going to have maintenance release 86, then 87. So all the new things which are there will be available to our customers as a part of a regular support contract. So no upgrade fees, no fees for new modules we developed. It's all there. And as I said, we are big fans of openness and giving customers ability. I like to use that Lego analogy, trying to pick the different blocks and design the VoIP network, the service network, which you want, which you need, which addresses your concerns. So you can do integrations through API we provide. We have systems of plugins, and we even provide source code to our customers. And we have some of them who do active customizations. Not all of them go all the way, but that serves as their peace of mind and insurance against us ever going greedy and trying to do the black box and not allowing you to enhance and develop the software the way you want. And we do have capabilities for the log processing built in PortaSwitch already, and our current customers, they know it. However, we focus on PortaSwitch. We focus on logs which are processed from PortaSwitch. And we see that more and more customers, they do have additional elements in their network. And pretty high attendance of this webinar by PortaOne customers shows this is something which is actual for them, something they're interested in. So our idea is to allow combine these two. And if you have, maybe you're providing Microsoft Teams in addition to IP-centrics and PortaSwitch, so you do have a Microsoft certified SBC for direct routing. So how do you troubleshoot a call which goes through that list? So we want to give you the tool to do efficient and fast troubleshooting of SIP cases. And our main platform, again, for For customers, for attendants who don't know PortaOne yet, we have two main products, billing and soft switch, and 95% of our customers will use a combination of those two called PortaSwitch. And when I'll be doing the demo, I'll be, for simplicity's sake, I'll be just saying PortaSwitch, referring to them as a combination. So it's a real-time service provisioning, charging, invoicing, and class 4 and class 5 SIP soft switch. And to collect some data and also to learn a bit more about our audience, I'm going to do a live poll about what is the current volume of logs you're processing and how complex is your network. So what else do you have? How many hops the call would travel to, and how complex potentially the troubleshooting for your network engineers would be. Okay, we'll allow probably about 2 minutes so people can cast their votes. Well, and another reason why also we do like what Dashbase is doing is because it's a cloud application. And with PortaSwitch, our current log processing, it's limited by the physical hardware that right now, I would say probably 85% of our customers, they still run on physical on-premise servers. So there, this log storage space is limited by the disk array or whatever has been initially put in. And actually, I did some check. That's one of the fairly common operations that our support team is doing when we detect that there's maybe customers running out of space on the storage. They do some manipulation with log files. So usually we keep maybe them for a week, but now we have to urgently delete previous older days, only keep the last 5 days and so on. Obviously, the advantage of a cloud in this regard would be the log storage is potentially unlimited, and you have capability to access them there. And if you choose to do so, if you want to store them for a month or so, why not? Okay, so I think we did 2 minutes. 50% of participants vote. Perfect. So I'm going to stop polling and I'll share the results. Okay. So what we see, we have about 1/3 of customers with less than 100 gigabytes of logs per day, and 21% up to 1 terabyte. And we have just one, but with a fairly sizable log volume. And I totally understand that this is okay. You may not know the log volume just yet, because for PortaSwitch customers, again, this is typically something you don't really engage with on a daily basis. It's there on the servers. Our support team takes care of the maintenance. And the only thing you learn about those logs typically when they come to you says, well, you're kind of running out of space. And for the complexity of a network, so we have almost half of the participants, they do have PortaSwitch and some other pieces of VoIP equipment connected to it. So it looks like the hypothesis Alex and I had that this is going to be useful service to you is true. Okay, and then there are some customers with just a single non-PortaSwitch system or combination. And I would imagine also if somebody builds a VoIP network today, most likely you are going to have an SBC, you're going to have some application servers. So it will add some complexity.
Yeah, maybe I could, if you don't mind, just chime in and second the notion that it's very common to not know how many logs your system generates. It's not a thing that you wake up every morning and look at. And we find in many of our customers that they think that they have a certain amount of logs, but then when they actually onboard them all, it turns out to be much, much more. And that's very common. So.
Perfect. Okay, and I'm going to pass it now to Alex.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So let me show you a little bit about the awesome stuff that Dashbase does, right? I'll show you a couple of slides to frame it up, and then I'll flip over to a live demo and show it to you live. But first off, you're going to have a UI that you can use to search for actual calls by SIP fields. And again, this is an abstraction away from your logs. So instead of looking at a text file and trying to pull what you think of as calls out of the text file, you'll be able to search for them directly in our UI. And next slide, please. And then you'll be able to visualize those call flows across all hops in your system. And so in this demo case that I'll show you, we'll go from an endpoint to open SIPs to free switch to the other endpoint. We'll show you that more of that live, but the point there again is that you'll be able to get visibility across the different nodes in your platform. Next slide, please. And then from that call diagram, you'll be able to drill from that diagram to the full text logs. And you'll be able to navigate those logs for the purposes of troubleshooting and root cause analysis. And now, Andre.
I'll stop share from my side and I'll just pass it to you so you can do the live screen sharing.
Okay. All right, great. So you guys should see Dashbase now. Can somebody confirm that you're actually seeing my Dashbase UI?
I can, and if somebody from participants can just type yes. So we have confirmation, looks good.
Okay, cool. So this is our call flows UI that will help you search for calls as I was describing. We'll show you some analytics too on another occasion, but to stick with the demo script for today, let me show you searching for actual calls. And so you see right here, you're looking at a list of calls, and you can use our filter capability. Here, we'll search for calls from user 1001. And let's say we're also looking for calls to user 1002. And you'll see here that Dashbase retrieves those for you and shows you information about each one of those calls. So you can look at any of these things and you can see information about them. You can see the SIP captures themselves, all of the events that occur. But let's take these and visualize them, again, because that's kind of the focus of what we're looking at today. Let's take this call. Let's view the trace of this call. And then you can see, as I described before, an endpoint going to open SIPs, going to free switch, and ultimately the other endpoint. You see all of the interactions between those different servers. Then you can click on any one of these, any one of them, and you can see the actual capture and all of the actual capture itself. And so in this way, once again, broad end-to-end platform visibility. And then with Dashbase, because it's all powered by all of the logs from your system, rather than say just an aggregate of the SIP captures themselves, but because it's got all of the underlying logs in the system as well, we can do some really interesting stuff. And so we'll drill from this diagram all the way down to logs. And so what you see here is we've now entered our, let's say our root cause analysis UI that you can use to do investigations of actual issues. So to begin with, I'll just point out that what you've done is you've grabbed all of the IDs that made the diagram and you've filtered out all of the other logs from the system down to these 46 events out of 160 million. Happens super quick because of what we have under the covers. Let me just kind of quick tangent there to describe that underneath the UI of Dashbase, this data store that we've created is made specifically for logs. It's not any other open source software under the covers. It's not MySQL. It's our own data store that can handle huge amounts of logs and search in real time for anything that exists in your logs. That's why all this stuff works, because we have built that from the ground up. So from this UI, I'll show you a couple of things. One is that from these 46 events, you can search for anything that exists in here. So like, for example, very common that you'd like to see the RTP map in the SDP for the call in question. And you know that what Dashbase has done here is it's added an additional highlight so that you can surf very quickly from invite to invite throughout this transaction and see the RTP map. Very, very quick to navigate the entire logs. The next thing that I'll show is an ability to search for any data inside of the system. And so let me just parse for you what I just did. I called out a specific field that we know exists in the logs. It's called method. And you note that the type of SIP that we're looking for is of type method. Now, the word invite shows up in your logs in many other places, but we're only going to search for the specific events where the field method is equal to invite. So let's do that and watch what happens to our 46 events. They cut down to 7. So we've filtered away everything else and we're just looking at those 7 invites that happen. And now from these 7 invites that you want to investigate more deeply, you can expand any one of these from seeing just the logs that you know and love and that you're probably very familiar with. And because I expanded that event, Dashbase will actually open up that event and break all the fields and their values down in a table so that you can view them much more simply. And then the next thing I'd like to show is from these events, as you scroll through, you might want to investigate one in particular, and you might be really interested in what else was happening, say in PortaSwitch or in FreeSwitch or in OpenSIPs around that specific event. So Dashbase gives you the ability to isolate any single event and view the surrounding events. And you see we've highlighted that big event, but we've also removed the filters around it. So we're not just looking at the invite now. Now we're looking at your logs more broadly, and you're seeing that the switch logic, the logs from FreeSwitch, are correlated with this SIP capture in a way that allows you to see exactly what FreeSwitch was doing before the SIP capture actually got sent. So these are some of the things that you can do with Dashbase. I'll pause there. I mean, we could do a bunch of other things with Dashbase too, and we'd love to show those to you guys, but this is all that we've got planned for the demo today. Also wanted to call out here that we can do this at extraordinary scale. So we asked about the size of logs that people have. We have customers doing many, many terabytes of logs per day, 3 terabytes a day, 12 terabytes a day, 20 terabytes of logs per day. All of that works inside of Dashbase, inside of your own public cloud. So we can talk more later about what Dashbase is and has. I'll give the baton back to Andre because I know he wants to go through some follow on with his demo as well. And I guess we'll do Q&A later as well.
And before I start with my part, let me also gather some information from you. Let's do another poll. So this one is about what is the technology stack you're using. So I asked already about the complexity, so how many hops could be there, but also we're interested to learn more about which specific systems you have already. And this will help Alex also to understand if they already have the log extractor components, or something which is installed on specific application or server to collect the logs, or if we should look into developing new log collectors for additional systems. And the second question is just to estimate what's the current load on the support team. So how many people are there on the first level support? These are the people who handle all the just inbound issues, inbound requests from customers. Okay, and as the last time, we'll allow about 5 minutes, or about 2 minutes to answer a poll. And I do know that there are people on this call who they're not using PortaSwitch yet. They are building their own systems using either commercial or open source platforms, and that's totally okay. That's fine. This is why, for my part, I'll share the best practices. Just in case if you will decide that for now you don't need PortaSwitch and the Dashbase, and if you will go with Dashbase or will not, but I will share some troubleshooting techniques, something which we already use, and this may help you to build a more efficient customer support and more efficient process of addressing customer concerns. So I did stop the poll. Let me share back the results. So, okay. So what we have, well, PortaSwitch dominates. It's understandable because we invited our customers first. Good share of open source systems such as FreeSwitch or Asterisk, commercial SBCs, media gateways, okay, and other. And for the support team, okay, the majority, they operate with a fairly small first level support team, and that's okay. And also the better troubleshooting will help them, because one of the challenges which are typically present when you have a small team, it's the queuing. And if you have 3 persons on shift, and we have now 3 very complex customer questions, they totally block your processing capacity. So what happens if you have another attempt, another request coming in? So our goal is to make sure the support team, the first level support team, can work quickly and can address those issues quickly. Alex, any comments on the poll results?
Yeah, I think as you called out, right? It's I think increasingly common and almost ubiquitous that people would run a multi-vendor platform. There are more things going on in your system than one single server or one single component, right? Especially as people add applications on top of these systems as well. There's just no getting around having many different types of servers in the system.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, and there's going to be a continuation. Since we're here, let's also talk a bit more about the current volume of support issues, current volume of support requests. So what is the average or estimated volume, and how many of them get escalated to the second level support or escalated to PortaOne? Because the numbers which we shared in the beginning of the call, the 500 to 250, that was the number of issues which get escalated to our team in PortaOne. So it means they probably definitely passed first level support for operator, and most likely they also passed the second level support. So if we picture this funnel, the number of incoming issues, incoming requests would be much higher. And again, our goal is to see whether this funnel can be cut short at the early stages. Okay, just about 45 seconds to allow all people to cast their votes. Okay, 10 more seconds. And Alex, can you see the results as the people cast the roles or not? Because I'm always in the host role, so I don't even know how it looks from your side. Do you see the results being progressively updated?
No, I don't. I just
okay. So
it tells me I can't vote. So
okay, excellent. So here's the results. We have so majority votes. It's less than 50 tickets or issues which is handled by the support team per day, and well, fortunately, not that many of them, at least for about half of our respondents. For them, not that many tickets get escalated to the higher levels, but we still have some actually fairly good numbers of those where those issues, they do have to go to the second or third level support or go to vendor like PortaOne or another commercial vendor. And our idea is to see what can be done to just make this process a bit more efficient. Okay. So I'm closing the poll. Okay. Well, a few things which we did in PortaSwitch, and as I said, this is technology available to our customers of PortaOne. Some of you may actually learn some new things because sometimes people, they just are used to old ways and they're not even aware of some cool new features we developed. But also that if somebody is building their own system, that's fine, and you can be free to use these ideas. All of our documentation is publicly available on our website, so you can actually read it anyway. But I'm here to tell about it with examples and in a specific context. So what we find out very frequently, the problem is going to be between either endpoint A, the originating endpoint, or the terminating endpoint. And in this case, if you have multiple hops inside of your network, inside of your applications, it actually only confuses the person who does the troubleshooting. So we have built this simple mode, and this is when we concentrate on the two endpoints where a call goes to and allow first level support or some customer administrator to quickly see if there is a problem which may be related to the either customer or carrier equipment. If that doesn't help, and if it looks like something is still going on, then we do have the advanced mode, which shows all the individual hops. In this case, still the same endpoint, but there was edge proxy and back-to-back user agent. And we also add porta billing into the call flow. I'm going to talk about this in the next slide. So this is when we, of course, build the full ladder, maybe a bit overwhelming. I know our support team, they prefer to always go to advanced mode, but the reason for that is because they usually only deal with issues which get escalated to them. So if ticket is opened with us, we're fairly certain that it's going to be a complex issue which cannot be solved by just simple diagrams and quick look. And a thing which we realized a few years ago, actually many years ago, that a lot of those issues then, it's a problem that the call has failed. But the real problem is not on the SIP level. Maybe customer tried to call this destination he or she is not authorized to call, or there's not enough credit, or there's something else is going on, something about the provisioning settings. And a lot of operators which I've seen, they have those two components separated. There's a switch and there's a billing. And people who try to put them together, it's really difficult. Well, we're in an easier position because both components provided by the same vendor, they're integrated, but we realized the logs from billing, they are integral part of troubleshooting. They should be present. They should be shown in the same diagram. Like here, we can see that when the call was completed, the accounting record, the update were sent. So everything's going to be available from the same interface. And the functionality of custom applications that Alex has in Dashbase can allow for something like this, because then if you have your SIP system, FreeSwitch, which may have already a log collector available from Dashbase. But then if you have your own application for authorization, or AAA server, you can create this additional extractors and add the log pieces and allow to construct a single flow. We also find out that quite a lot of these issues, they fall into some common patterns. There are some common issues which can be experienced SIP engineer will probably spot them fairly easily. So try to build, well, not AI yet, but a system which will look into those common problems and will try to pinpoint them and suggest solutions. Especially works well with first level support. They know the customer, they know some basics, but they may not have experience just yet to quickly understand, okay, this is because probably somebody put an incorrect IP address as a carrier information, or this customer configured the PBX, but they haven't configured username and password, so it fails on PortaOne authorization required. So in this example, it shows, okay, this is invalid password. This is the error message which was provided by the billing. So we know immediately what's going on. Most likely the customer equipment is misconfigured or something else is related, but it's related to the authorization and password authorization. And another example is, okay, from a SIP level, everything may seem fine, but we see that the caller number is blocked, so the billing, the charging system doesn't authorize this call. And then we can also provide some additional hints about how this problem can be resolved. So it's possible to build into not scripts, but recommendations for first level support that they can quickly and efficiently deal with those issues. And only something which is really complex, something which is really requires attention of the senior engineer should be escalated further. And when this happens, when we need to escalate the problem, something which I still remember what I've been with PortaOne for 18 years now, and I do remember the early days and this like the copy paste and email exchanges about back and forth. Okay, we're missing some dialogues, we're missing some bits, please resend them. Well, we quickly realized, okay, this is a waste of time. So we have a built-in tool which gathers all of the information which we have in the system related to this particular call, and then automatically submits it to the ticketing system. We have RT integration. The RT is a request tracker from Best Practical already available, and we are partnering with Zendesk. In release 86, we are putting native integration with Zendesk as part of PortaSwitch. So we'll put it there so also it can submit immediately ticket all the related call information into the Zendesk issue. So the people who will be working on that, they will have access to it immediately. And sometimes it happens that during the troubleshooting, you understand the problem is not within your network. Maybe it's a codec mismatch between endpoint and a vendor. So something needs to be done by a third party. Or maybe it's an enterprise customer and it looks like actually their PBX is misconfigured. So they should do something on their side. Same situation. Unless we provide very explicit and complete information about what was going on and what happened, most likely it's going to be ping pong of email or Slack exchanges, and the issue will take a long time and the customer is not going to be happy. So we can package the same collection of log information into just a single archive, and then it can be delivered to the third party for whichever way they prefer. Email, Slack, web upload, anything they would require. And that's from my side, that's it. I would be happy to take a look at the questions which were submitted. And Alex and I will go through them. Okay, Alex, and you are able to see the questions, right? Because they're shown to all the panelists.
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to answer the first one because it's more about the Dashbase?
Yeah, great. So Dashbase is powered, as I was saying, by the underlying logs, right? And so you'll be able to get logs from the entire system, and you'll be able to use them primarily for troubleshooting and root cause analysis. That's our focus. We do some metrics and analytics. You do have some ability to build some custom analytics, but by and large, Dashbase is about troubleshooting across these several different types of systems with all of the data available to you. Let's see. I also, just as part of that same question, like maybe I should also address the question about pricing. Happy to go back to VoIP Monitor as well. But let's see, because the question was, can you compare and contrast Dashbase vis-a-vis VoIP Monitor? That's why I was talking about the logs. And then the follow-on question there was about the pricing model. So let me say about the pricing model, generally it's via data volume that's ingested into Dashbase a day, per day. Since we announced our partnership with PortaOne, we are already engaging with and helping several users of PortaSwitch to be able to do this bringing together of the entire telephony stack for visualization into the one single tool. And so we're really hopeful that we can do that with your team as well, your teams, the people represented. And then for the next 90 days, like we have some special discounting that we want to do for PortaSwitch users, and make it really advantageous for people to onboard and start to get this benefit for your platform. Happy to answer follow-up questions to that if you guys ping more stuff in there. But Andre, was there something?
There's a question about HAP encapsulation. I have to say I'm not familiar how it would fit into PortaSwitch, whether we have plans to ingest it from our side, because again, our main focus is the PortaSwitch infrastructure. But if you have any plans on working with it.
So I know that Dashbase gets data from HEP as a data source, and so that will all be searchable in the text and in the logs. I'm not sure if there's more clarity that can be added about HEP encapsulation and what it means by supporting it, but anything that's text-based, and in particular, we know that we have ingested data from HEP, and we've been able to do all the things that I showed you in the demo with regards to that. But maybe I'm missing the question. Happy to do follow up there.
Okay. And there are two related questions about the RTP statistics and the ability to see MOS scores across different systems.
Yeah, also an awesome question. So as I said, anything that is text-based can be ingested into Dashbase. So MOS scores and RTP stats can all be ingested into Dashbase, and first and foremost, they'll all be searchable and available on calls. On specific calls, in the columns that I showed you on that table that I showed you, you'll be able to see MOS scores there. The thing we don't do though is we don't calculate MOS scores. So we don't watch the wire and then calculate MOS scores for you and add them to calls. But any MOS scores or RTP stats that come off of the calls, we can show in real time, just like the rest of the data.
And I also would like to add from PortaOne side that, well, typically, even if you have multiple hops on your network, you probably don't want to do transcoding on each and every single hop. It's a waste of computing resources and probably is going to impact negatively your sound quality. So usually there's just going to be a few, like the endpoint, and perhaps one entity which does the actual RTP proxying. At least we typically try to do it this way. So it may be a bit simpler task than gathering together all the different SIP logs. And about 5 releases ago, so I think just within the last year, we have actually introduced a module called Call Quality Monitor within PortaSwitch, something which analyzes RTP and RTCP and can build the call quality metrics for every call. So some of our customers, they may be running a bit older release, or sometimes people, they just update and they're not aware of these things which are available. They just need to be activated. So specifically for monitoring call quality for PortaSwitch users, in recent releases, this is something which can be done very easily, natively. Okay, and more scores. And the question whether it's possible to create custom dashboards in Dashbase, such as checking the average success rate and sending alert if metric goes below a certain value.
Yeah, great question as well. So we do have the ability to make dashboards. We have the ability to calculate custom metrics. I showed you a little bit of the analysis. Would love to hop on the phone and show further what we're able to do with regards to dashboarding to Anonymous. Sorry, Anonymous. Would love to jump on the phone with you and chat about what is exactly we can do. Yes, we can do stuff. I don't have a demo at the moment that I can just flip to. But then to the alerts question, we do have an alerting capability as well. So yes, you definitely could set up a particular metric and you could watch that metric via alert. And the alert endpoints that we have available are email, PagerDuty, and Slack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, would love to get on the phone and show you that functionality in the product as well.
Okay. And there's a question which just came in. It's about whether you can process PCAP files.
So we don't process PCAP files. So if you ingest PCAP files to us, we don't process those. It's all text-based logs. And then it's usually the other way around that people are trying to generate a PCAP based off of the diagram that they see in Dashbase. Again, would love to talk through one of the main things we watch our customers do is deal with PCAPs and say Wireshark or something like that, trying to get parallel functionality in Dashbase. So I'd love to talk to you about the particular way you're using PCAPs and how we might incorporate it in Dashbase. Mm-hmm. Also, if you don't mind, Andrea, I would love to throw in there as well that it's probably clear to everybody, like we're a young company, we're a highly flexible team, really interested in working very closely with this community. We want to be the best tool available to this community to be able to deliver awesome VoIP platforms, right? So would love to talk to you. It's very simple for us to throw stuff on our roadmap. All of our customers are able to do so. And we love that. We love being a customer-driven roadmap company. So please reach out and have a conversation. We'd love to work with you on anything you'd like to see.
And I think we're out of questions for now, but Alex and I are not going to disappear. So you can contact us or Dashbase or websites. We also will send a follow-up email and we'll provide the link to the recording of this webinar. So if any of your colleagues or missed this and you would like to share it with them, we will provide the recording for you to watch it later. And as Alex said, for PortaOne, although we are now 18 years old company, we still would love to build our roadmap for delivery of new features based on the customer feedback and suggestions. We would love to hear from you ideas about what can be done, what can be improved. So if you have some ideas about how to make this process more efficient, especially considering there are going to be additional elements within your VoIP network besides PortaSwitch, also talk to us, share ideas, and let's build better tools for running the VoIP operations. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to end the presentation and please expect a follow-up from us in the next couple of days.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.